Good evening and welcome to All Things Sky Blue match preview against Cardiff, which is on Easter Monday, 3 o'clock kickoff at the CBS Arena. We are at home. Shortly, I'll be joined by Mark and Thomas, a Cardiff fan. He's a blogger, so we can get his insight to Cardiff. But before I bring them in, just remember, please, where you can find us. We are on X or Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications. He can do your steel fabrication up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. And we're also partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena. For those watching on YouTube, thank you very much. We're up to 430 subscribers. If you don't like and subscribe already, please do so. It is free. So go and like and subscribe. If you don't want to watch us and you just want to listen to us, we are available on podcasts as well. So Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, and wherever else that you get your podcasts from. Please rate us 5 stars as well on there. That's much appreciated. Thank you very much. So as always, joined by my co-host, Mark. Evening, Mark. You okay?
Yeah, evening, Stuart. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. And we're joined by Thomas, the Cardiff fan. How are you, Thomas?
I'm very good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much for coming on. It's much appreciated. So, before we get into the crux of the Cardiff game on Friday, can you just let us know, Tom, what you do? Monday. Sorry, yep. Monday. Can you just let us know what you do and where we can find you?
Yeah, hi. So my name's Tom. You can find me on Twitter at my handle there. And I have my own sports blog called Sport Addict Corner. It's the one linked in my website and my Twitter bio. I do football on there, but I do kind of like a variety of sport overall, really. So if you're into Formula One, rugby, boxing, American football, anything like that, then there'll be something for you there. I've been neglecting it a little bit as of late because uni work has just been a bit crazy. But one of my goals for this year is that I'm going to start posting on there more frequently now. I might do a post about Wales not making it to the Euros last night. I'm not too sure yet. I'm not sure if I can really cope with that at the minute. But yeah, so if you're interested, then you can find my stuff there.
Fantastic. Excellent. So it's not just football you do then, it's all sports.
Yeah, a bit of everything.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Excellent. So obviously we're not playing on Friday because we've got Huddersfield on Friday, and we're playing on Monday, Easter Monday, 3 o'clock kickoff at the CBS Arena. Obviously, bearing in mind, and we will touch on it as well, I believe you're at home against Sunderland on Friday.
Yeah.
And obviously we're away at Huddersfield on Friday as well. So, things might change. People might get injured and people might be suspended. So as it stands now, obviously we're talking about the players that we've got available now. It might change slightly if anything happens, obviously, in either of those games. Going back to our game then, earlier on in the season, it was a 3-2 victory for you guys. Thomas, how was your feeling going into that game? Was you optimistic? What was your form just before the game as well? Can you remember?
Yeah, we had a really strong start to the season, and it was part of that. I'm reluctant to call it like a honeymoon period, but we hit the ground running quite well, from what I can remember, under Errol Bullitt. They were, even if games we weren't necessarily winning, there was a couple, like Leeds' first game of the season, we ended up drawing 2-2 at Elland Road, but we played really well in the first half of that. And I remember it was just kind of that period where it looked like, we could be onto something here. Cardiff specifically, sorry. It was a game that I was a bit nervous going into. Because obviously you guys had been in the playoff final year before, and thought, there's some decent players there, and I always just think, it's a team that I just associate us not playing particularly well against. Like last season, the home game was an absolute stinker, but most of them were. And yeah, it was just one of those sides where I think, it could go wrong. And there's a couple in the Championship like that. Birmingham, I'm never confident whenever we play them. I always think we're going to lose or just not play well. So yeah, I was a bit wary going into it. So I was like, even though we're in this nice, decent run, it has the potential to go wrong. But it didn't. We won 3-2, and I remember scoring very, very late on. I think it was like 96th or 97th minute or something.
Yeah.
And at that point, I thought, oh God, here we go. This is going to end 3-0 now. Having looked completely fine for most of the game. And now it's just going to be Pete Cardiff to capitulate right at the end. Or it didn't happen. And yeah, it was a good result for us. And I think at that time, it was one that we kind of needed as well, just so that we can prove that we can beat the bigger names in the division as well. Yeah.
Obviously, Mark, that was coming at a time when we were still playing a 3 at the back formation. Godden, to be fair, scored 2 goals that day. And I can't remember whether he was at the start or towards the end that he kind of petered out after that. I can't quite remember, to be fair. I know you've got your magical book there. You may be able to tell us how he did. So going into that game, how do you think that most Cov fans were feeling going into that game? Because for me, playing 3 at the back again, I said it on the Huddersfield podcast as well that we did, that I'm not a massive fan of playing 3 at the back because of the personnel that they got. How do you think that you felt?
I felt reasonably confident. I think just on the back of the fact that we won their last season, it was 2-0 at Cardiff, as Tom has alluded to. But on this particular game, we just didn't turn up. Cardiff were better than us, in all honesty. I think Gutas got a couple of goals from set pieces from memory. And we one of them was a free header, which was pathetic defended at the time. So whether it was 3 at the back, 4 at the back, whatever at the back, we didn't defend from that set piece. And that's and Gutas, I think, has scored quite a few goals this season from corners and set pieces. So looking ahead to this game, he will be a threat. I thought Cardiff were a good side, to be fair. I think they did have a bit of a bad period, but they've started to pick up some results. If you look at the form ahead of the game, obviously they lost to their local rivals last time out, but before that they've had about 3 wins and a draw, I think. So, and you'd probably say they would probably beat Sunderland on Friday. From what I've seen of Sunderland this season, they're pretty average side. The best players was Jack Clark, but obviously, so I think they'll probably beat Sunderland. But it's a game we need to win. Obviously, we need to keep up the pace. Cardiff have probably got an outside chance of playoffs, but they really need to win all their games to really give themselves a chance. But I think it might be a little bit of a struggle for them to make it, but you never know, strange things will happen, I guess. But from our point of view, we need to win, keep up the pace. But Cardiff are a good side, and they were better than us on the night. We were poor. I think 3-2 flattered us at the time. Godden, to be fair, took his goals well. But I think it would have been, in all honesty, a bit of an injustice had they equalised, because Cardiff deserved the win. They were better than us in the 90 minutes.
Yeah, Tom, just go back to, obviously, your form away from home is you've won 7, you've lost 9, since the last time that we played you, and you've drew 1. So, you don't draw many games, which is probably, one of our downfalls, why we're probably not slightly higher up, because we draw too many games, especially early on in the season as well. So you either win or lose. Now, the last time that you played us, you played a 4-3-3 formation. Has Errol changed that at all, or is it simple as what works don't change what works, basically?
Yes, like a couple of times we've averted away from it, but mostly it's just been the 4-3-3, and I think we will stick with that for next Monday as well, and this Friday coming. It does suit us quite well when we're playing well. I think we've got a strong back line which we managed to improve as well in January with a couple of loan signings. And like midfield, sometimes it's amazing, sometimes it's non-existent. It has been the story of it this season, and but I think everyone has like started to find their feet a little bit, or they found their feet and they know exactly what's expected of them now, what their roles are. I think for a while, sort of the issue was that we were playing good, but at times Errol didn't really know what his strongest team was, maybe, and stuff that was working really well in one game, go to the next, you think, oh yeah, great, so and so starting again, and then they just drop a stinker and everyone's on their back again, and it was weird like that for a while, like that kind of like getting results, whether that's wins or draws, but seemingly some players not being able to carry it over from one game to the next. But we're kind of out of that now. But so yeah, I'd be surprised if we go with anything that isn't a 4-3-3.
Okay. Since Errol's been in, has he won over the fans, or is he still sort of in that period where a lot of fans aren't sure about him?
He has his doubters, but I'd argue overall that he has won us over. Like he's so committed to this team. He clearly has a vision of where he wants to take us. It seems like for the first time in I don't know how long, there's a bit of stability at the club and there's a bit of vision. And I am generally quite optimistic for the future.
Okay.
He does have some doubters, but everyone always does. And it got quite vocal against him when we went through a bit of a rough patch earlier this year, around January, February time, when we went on losing quite a few in a row. But he's only got a 1-year deal, so for me, it seems like a no-brainer that we just extend him. It's the first time in 2 years where we're not looking at a relegation battle coming into time in the season, or at any time really. And early on, there were thoughts of maybe we could push for top 6. And I think what he's managed to do with his, to be fair, quite limited resources. We had a transfer ban still in the summer and a bit of a shoestring budget in January. If he's given the opportunity to make this Cardiff team his Cardiff team and the vision he wants to implement, and I think that he could be here for a good couple of years, and I really hope it works out for him, because like he just gets it. He knows what it is to be a Cardiff manager. He really does enjoy, or like he gets the importance of derbies, whether that's Bristol or Swansea. Like he always just seems really up for it. So yeah, I hope we stick with him, and I'm just desperate for it to work out.
Okay. This is probably a bit of a 2-part question. So obviously, I know you said that you quite like him. What are the doubters doubting about him? What are they actually saying?
So a lot of it is that, and to be fair, he isn't perfect. A lot of the kind of the negative aspects that come from him is that substitutions tend to be really quite strange. Like he's either waiting far too late to bring players on, or he's putting on maybe the wrong type of player in the game that we're in. If we're like maybe chasing a victory, if we're level, or if we're behind, we're not playing particularly well and not doing much from midfield. A few times he's just put on like more defensive minded players, and it's like sometimes I do really struggle to see with the logic. And the fact is, if it's once or twice, then fair enough, like I can let it slide. When it's quite consistent, like it has been a couple of times this year, like it does make you scratch your head a little bit. And I get why that would turn people against him.
Yeah.
But like even when people are against him, from what I've seen, it's not always like nasty. It's just more kind of out of frustration. And I do understand it, because there's times where I've seen him when he makes some of these substitutions. It's just like, oh, really? Why?
Yeah. Okay. And the second part of my question is, I know you want him to be there, but do you think, rather than your heart, what does your head say?
I think he will. I think because the board are big fans of his. Apparently, Mehmet Dalman has been wanting to appoint him for quite some time, before we eventually did in the summer. Mm-hmm. So I think personally he will stay. But the big thing is if they can guarantee that he will get a proper backing in the summer. If it's going to be more of the same in January, where it's having plenty of targets, but just not the ability to actually pull these moves off, then I could see him just thinking, oh, you know what, nah, forget this, and walk in. So I think he will stay, because the right people are fans of him and support him. But I'd be equally as unsurprised if we just do a Cardiff and let him go.
Let him go. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Going back to this game then, Mark, obviously Tom was mentioning there that, some of the questions that are raised about substitutions. Now, Robbins is that type of manager as well sometimes, isn't he? But of late, his substitutions have actually been okay, haven't they? And he's made the right substitutions at the right time.
Yeah, he's been quite proactive, I think. But he usually changes around the 70th minute usually. But I think from the Wolves game, the cup, I think he made a change in the.
It's about 60-second, wasn't it? Something.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I think. I think the Watford game, I think he made a change at half time, didn't he? I think.
Yes, he did. That's right. That's right.
That's what I was thinking, not the Wolves game. Sorry, my bad. No, I think he's generally pretty good with his substitutions. I think he knows if the game's going against us that he will change tactics, or he will change the personnel. So I think he's pretty good generally. I've got no complaints really.
Okay. Any questions for Tom?
I was just going to ask Tom about Will Snesbrand, as obviously a player that features for us last season. How's he been performing for Cardiff?
He's taken like a duck to water. I know that we always say never fall in love with a lone player, but I'm guilty of it every year. Last year it was Sori Kaba. This year it's Wilson Esbrand and Nat Phillips as well. But yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant. At the time, I thought it seemed a little bit harsh on Jamilu Collins, because he's a really good player as well. But yeah, he's been absolutely outstanding, and I'm so glad that we've got him. And if we could get him again next year, I think it's probably quite unlikely now, given like how well he's done for us. But if we could get him again, that I'd be over the moon with that. Where's
he been playing, Tom? What position?
Left back.
Okay.
And he's done really well there. And it's a position that's a little bit thin for us. Like we have Jamilu Collins, but then like if he's injured or off it, then it starts to look a little bit kind of ropey. But yeah, he's slotted in absolutely perfectly, and I can't sing his praises enough. I think he's such a good player. Like I was excited when we signed him anyway. Like I thought he'd be good, but I didn't think he'd settle as quickly as he has and like perform to consistently as high a standard that he has.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it, Mark? Because for Coventry, he wasn't really utilised as a left back as such. He was very much an attacking player, wasn't he?
Well, he was, because we were playing the two wing backs, so he was utilised more as a wing back. Maybe not his best position. Possibly he's a better left back. I didn't see enough of him really. I thought he was an okay player for us, but
yeah, I did.
He didn't play a lot of games for us. I think Bidwell was more preferred last season, but yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely talented, and it might be an opportunity for him to earn a permanent move at Cardiff. You never know, or whatever. I don't know what his situation is at Manchester City, but Yeah, I mean, if you're playing, if you're getting some Man City, you're generally guaranteed to get a good player. So, and obviously he's proved that at Cardiff. And yeah, I mean, it's good to it's good to see him do well, but he was never our player, was he? Really, in fairness, but
No. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think from what I've seen at Cardiff, they look a decent side there on paper. They've got some good players. Aaron Ramsey's another player. Obviously, he's got a lot of experience at Arsenal and playing, I think, Juventus in Italy. They've got Carlon Grant, who's a good player, wide left, who's been at West Brom. So I think, and also Josh Bowler, who they got from Blackpool, I think, or Forest, I can't remember now, who's a good right winger. So they'll be dangerous on the flanks for this game. I look at they've got some talented players there on paper. So I'm not surprised to see them where they are. And obviously they've beaten some good sides. They beat Ipswich as well. Remember, 2 goals in the 90th minute, which was a fantastic win for Cardiff. So they're no mugs. It's going to be a difficult game. It's a game we need to win, but we're going to have to play well to win.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Tom, you mentioned about some of your injuries and things like that as well. I'm just going on off a list on a website that I looked at. You've got Keon Etete, Jack Anwick, and I think is it Mark McGuinness as well.
Yeah.
Are they starters? Are they likely to be a big miss, or is there anybody else that's out or suspended that we should know about?
So McGuinness has been out for a while.
Okay.
So last few weeks, Nat Phillips has come in and slotted in the other side of Gutas, and he's done brilliantly. He's hardly put a foot wrong. And Callum Robinson, I think, is injured at the minute. He's not featured for quite a while. But yeah, it would be nice to have McGuinness about. But to be honest, Phillips has been more than a decent enough replacement. And at the minute, I'm not too sure where I'd sit. The one I'm more gutted about is Etete, because I think he's a really good player. He divides opinion a bit, but I think all he needs is just a bit of a run of form. Like earlier in the season, he was scoring quite consistently before he got injured, and then he came back, and I think he's injured again. Like hopefully he'll be fit in time. It's all a bit, I don't know, up in the air in a minute. Not too much has been said. Olnwick as well, I feel quite bad for, because he's been so good all season. And then we signed Ethan Horvath from Forest in January, and he's been amazing as well. So yeah, it feels quite harsh on him that he's, kind of out of the picture for the time being. But again, it's a more than great replacement in Horvath, and he's signed permanently as well, which is always a nice bonus.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got anybody else that's out that I haven't mentioned on that list who's suspended? Obviously, bearing in mind, you've still got the Sunderland game, just like we've got the Huddersfield game. Is there anybody else that's been out and suspended that I haven't mentioned?
Apart from Callum Robinson, I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Brilliant. So, what was your expectations at the start of the season? What were they sort of in the middle, and what are you hoping for towards the end?
At the start, it was very much just I was desperate for mid-table, because there's some decent teams in this league. I didn't think we were in the 6th best. I didn't think we were going to be anywhere near playoffs. So if we could have just had a boring season with some exciting football, but just a fine, boring beige season where we're not in a relegation scrap come this time of year, and we can stay out of the national press, that would have been totally fine for me. As it kind of went on, I started to get a little bit excited. I was like, oh, maybe we could push for top 6. Maybe we could get that plucky 6th position. But it, came apart a little bit when we went on that kind of rough run. in January, February time, which kind of not fully derailed us, but it was definitely a pretty big fork in the road.
Yeah.
So that was quite disappointing at the time. But, we're on a decent stretch of form now, not including the Swansea game. And to be honest, I don't think we'll make the playoffs. Like, part of me, like, after every win is just like, oh yeah, this is it. We're going to go on this massive run now, and everything's going to fall in perfectly. And of course, it never happens. But I got a dream.
You can always hope. You can always hope.
There's always going to be hope there. But yeah, I don't know. If we could get top 10, then I'd be really pleased with that. Given how we were last year and the season before that, and the fact that we couldn't spend any money in the summer, and we were still able to do the business we did and bring back Aaron Ramsey and, just have a bit of identity again.
Yeah.
And just stability. Like, I'm more than pleased with that. Just, and it's not been a boring season. There's been like quite exciting parts as well, but just, a mid-table finish would just be lovely after the last few years, to be honest.
Fantastic. And obviously, off camera, if you like, off recording, I mentioned about the threats that we posed to you. What names have you got for us that you think might cause a bit of a threat to you guys?
So I assume he's fitting it. Hadji Wright?
Yeah. Big
fan of his. The type of player I would like at Cardiff, like, a consistent goal scorer, like can hit double figures in a season. I think he's a decent player, and I think it's his birthday today as well.
Yesterday. It is today.
Happy birthday, Hadji. But yeah, I think he's a good player and definitely the type who could probably hurt us on Monday.
Okay, interesting. Anybody else or just Hadji, really?
Hadji is probably the main one, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Mark, obviously, they're coming back from international duty. Hadji Wright, Casey Palmer, Latabodiere, and De Silva as well, who was away with Wales. He was on the bench. He didn't get on, but he did. He was part of that squad as well. Obviously, we have got the Huddersfield game first. Do you expect all of them, if they don't start sort of Huddersfield, do you think they'd all pretty much start the Cardiff game?
Yeah, I think they will do. Yeah, I think they could be on the bench for Huddersfield if I was to guess, purely because I think Robbins might want to give him a bit of time, a bit of extra rest, and bring him on if necessary. And I expect to start for Cardiff. Yeah, I think they're probably all three of those would go straight into our first team if selected at the moment. They've been playing.
Yeah, yeah, I do as well. The only one I think that probably won't get a rest is probably going to be Latti, in all honest, just because I think that the way that Milan played against Wolves, playing that Sakamoto role, if you like, because Sakamoto's out, I think that worked quite well, and I think he'll want to get that settled as quickly as he can, that back four, because I think that's going to be his back four going forward, heading towards, obviously, the other league games that we've got, and obviously the FA Cup semi-final as well. So I think that's the way forward that he'll go. I think with Casey, we've got O'Hare that can play that role. Jamie Allen's back on the grass, I believe, so Jamie Allen might come in and be on the bench at some point as well. We've got Torp, we've got Eccles, so that midfield section really is probably sorted. So I would imagine Casey might be on the bench. Hadji Wright being a threat, obviously Tom's just mentioned that he is. I think he may start as well, but we've got options there if we need to, I suppose. Really, but I think Wright might start as well because he scored 2 for the USA on international break, and he was on form for us as well before that international break as well as Ellis Sims as well. So yeah, we've got options. Any other questions for Tom?
No, nothing for me. No.
Okay, cool. So just before I go into the quick fire, Tom, can I get a prediction out of you for the Cardiff Coventry game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough. Obviously, coming back from a derby loss is never easy, but I think weirdly, if it was ever going to have to happen, it's come at an okay time where we've had the international break, so there's been a bit of time to recoup. I think we'll beat Sunderland on Friday as well, and I'm hoping that can carry over into Monday too, and I'm going to go with 2-1 Cardiff. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I think we'll win. I'll go 2-1.
Any scorers in that?
I'll go with Carlin Grant and why not David Turnbull, because we signed him in January and I really like him so far, and I don't think he's scored for us yet. So David Turnbull.
Oh, if he hasn't scored for you yet, he's bound to score against Cov, because that always happens. Mark, can I get a prediction from you?
Tight game. Cardiff a good side. We need a win. I'm going 2-1 Cov, the other way around. But Cardiff will be a tough opposition. So that is going to be an easy game, but we're going to have to play well to beat them, because they've got some quality there in that team. But I just feel if we get a bit of momentum going, I'm going to back us to win.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to back us to win as well. I think we'll score probably maybe one more goal than a 2-1. I'm going to go for a 3-1. I think we do concede, and we might even concede first. I just think being at home, the CBS is a good stadium at the moment for us. We've had some really good results there. We've beat Leicester there quite convincingly. If we show up, I've said it before, we'll beat anybody. And I think that these next two games, Huddersfield and Cardiff, are vital. I don't like to say must win, but I think it's the closest that I'm going to say that it is kind of really. And I think it is going to be a tight game, but I'm going to say a 3-1 win. So, any final questions or anything? Is there anything you want to ask us, Tom?
No, just I completely forgot that Casey Palmer plays for Coventry until you said just then. So it's going to be. I hate playing against ex-Swansea players. It's just the absolute worst. And he played for Bristol City as well. So
he did, yeah.
There we are. That's my prediction for who's going to score for Cov. I think it'll be Casey Palmer, just because it's going to happen, and he'll do something to wind up the away fans. Because
excellent. I'll take it. Anything else, Mark?
No, nothing, mate. No.
Okay, lovely. So, just to say thank you to Tom and thank you for Mark. But before you do go, Tom, I like to do with the guests a quick fire question. There's a couple there might be a naughty one in there or so, but you can be as honest as you like. So don't worry about it. So the first one is Cardiff City Stadium. What do you think about that?
When it's good, it's great. When it's not going great, it's a horrible place to be.
Okay, fair enough. Swansea.
Cannot stand them. That's my.
That's fine.
I could have said a lot worse there, but
to be fair, we've had worse. We've had worse, so don't worry.
He was being polite there as well.
Lovely city. I went there for university when I was younger, but no, I can't stand it.
Okay, fair enough. Errol.
King.
Okay. Player of the season so far.
Perry NG.
Okay. And best away fans you've seen this season.
Good question. Oh, that's been good. Leicester were good.
Okay.
When they came, they were in. I think because they played so well on the field as well. But
yeah, Leicester
were pretty decent.
Okay, cool, excellent. Thank you very much. See, nice and easy, nothing too difficult in there. Mark, once again, thank you very much for joining me as co-host. Much appreciated as always. Thomas, just before you do go, can you let us know where we can find you and what you do as well?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X or wherever it's called this day, at Thomas Taylor 4, and you can find my blog, Sport Addict Corner, linked in my Twitter bio.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So once again, just remember where you can find us, guys. We're on YouTube. Please go and like and subscribe if you do watch us, if you don't already. We're available on X or Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I do lives on TikTok as well, so look out for that. We're on podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. Go and rate us 5 stars if you like what we do. We're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar at the CBS Arena, and we're also sponsored this season by Right Steel Fabrications. He can do your steel fabrication work up and down the country, but mainly in the Coventry and Warwickshire area. So once again, thank you to my co-host Mark, and thank you for Tom for joining. Good luck for the rest of the season, Mark, obviously apart from Monday.
That's for Thomas, not for me. I want us to
win. Right. Thank you once again, guys. Speak to you soon. Play up Sky Blues.
Cheers. Bye.